Hello everyone, it's 911 again, and today, well, although we're playing World of Warships here, I decided to do a more serious talk type thing. And that is about a person I saw online who requested video responses from her viewers. After watching and hearing her story, I decided that I would do one as well. So, this goes out to Miss AnnaMae Renee. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, the main thing I want to go over here is you asked about what you said that was wrong. And I can say after watching your video and listening to what you had said, you said actually nothing wrong. Everything you said was purely justified. Now, and this is coming from a left-leaning person, although I believe political speech is more on a spectrum and less on a, you know, a line than most people. As well as, I'm not exactly an American, so I can't exactly talk to everything about this, but essentially what you might be missing that's causing the situation here is the fact that it's not what you said. It's not even the way you said it. It's how people interpret it. Now, this is a part of that I know for a fact. Regardless of what you do, and you're going to be like, probably, well, what should I do to fix that? Problem is, you can't fix it. Nobody can fix it. Because there are several stages in how we talk to people. The first part is what we say. The words we say hold a certain weight to them, and this has always been true. The second part is... how do I say this? Well, the second part is the context and like your voice behind them and everything else that goes into it. The third part is the receivers. And this is where the problem in this situation lies. Now, if I remember correctly, you said something along the lines of, well, you basically gave an example where a white man and a black man with different grade averages and who would get picked for the job. That, I believe, is exactly where the problem stems from. Because you were at a rally, or a discussion, talking about black versus white stuff, which, personally, coming from up here, I can tell you a lot of Canadians don't really see a problem with white and black things because we don't have these kind of talks up here that much. I mean, the only ones up here in Canada who probably have this kind of mentality that's kind of similar to the way, well, black people down there are thinking might be the First Nations, and even then it's incredibly unlikely because the whole First Nations argument is determined by blood, not by color of the skin. And it's very hard to find somebody who's actually First Nations and you know outright that they're First Nations. I mean, there's none of those people on horseback riding around chasing buffalo anymore. Heck, there's hardly any buffalo anymore, so yeah. But I'm going off topic here for a second. Essentially, your argument, again, involved a white guy and a black guy. Where I'm thinking the thing fell apart is in what you chose. White guy and black guy. And you automatically put the white guy at the top of the scale. While this might represent reality in, like, the way they were raised, this is probably a bad choice. Because what you should have put down instead, that's just my personal opinion, probably would have worked out better if you had said somebody along the lines of, for example, say, what should we put in place? I know. Somebody who stereotypically gets high grade averages. And those would be, at least from what I know up here, due to how much they tend to study, a person from Asia, for example. Like a Chinese guy, or Japanese, or whatever. The primary problem I think you might have made relies entirely on the other people's perception there, or whatever. Basically, you chose examples that were going to feed into their narrative. If they are so afraid or so concerned with how black and white people talk back and forth, no, it's not that. I'm doing this completely off script, by the way. If they're so concerned about the inequality between black and white men, or black and white women, or whatever, then you should not use a white or black man in the example. Essentially, you gave them ammo to use in their argument against you, to feed their kind of agenda. You can't do that. If you do that, you end up losing the argument, which you kinda did. It's not a very good way of doing it, I'll admit, but you can't do anything about it. It's messy, very messy, I know. Things just don't make sense in the long run. I mean, we're all human beings. We all carry our own perceptions of what's good and what's bad. And really, I mean, anything could be considered good or bad. But we have to perceive it in a yes or no type situation. I mean, yes, this is good, or no, that's bad, you can't say that, kind of thing. And it's up to the person who's interpreting what the other person is saying as well. It's up to their choice whether or not they're going to acknowledge what you're saying is a bad thing or a good thing. I mean, in the end, you said nothing wrong. And yes, I agree with most of the people there that there may be a problem with white and black relations. But here's something else about it. You can't fix that. And while I'm on that subject of inequality and stuff like that, because I don't really go into political speech on my YouTube channel. You just have to look at it. It's a bunch of anime and, well, anime mostly stuff. But one other perception I carry is, and this logic you can bring up in an argument, though I don't know how much people are going to acknowledge it as right. This is a line I use when people confront me about, like, when the settlers first took over and moved the First Nations into residential schools, and then the priests did all those terrible things to them, and yada, yada, yada. Why should I pay for somebody else's mistake? In the end, did I do anything bad to you? No! It's not my fault. It's not yours. It's theirs, but they don't exist anymore. So how am I guilty by association? I never chose to be associated with them. I never chose to do anything to you. But it's this kind of thing. I mean, essentially in the back of their minds, a lot of the more extreme people, and I'm saying extreme here, I'm not saying everybody, all the more extreme people hold grudges deep down in the back of their heads. I mean, you see this on YouTube with some of the Black Lives Matter people. Although the organization may have started off as noble, with the current leadership, it doesn't really seem to be anymore. Though everybody that believes in the original message, I believe you have a noble cause. But the whole idea that, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense in the end. People choose to look at things one way and don't choose to look at them another. And people try to make you guilty by association because somebody way back when who is related to you by race did something terrible. That does not make sense. You can't just blame somebody for something they didn't do. That doesn't make it right. That makes you wrong. That makes you the bad guy. So in the end, Miss AnnaMae Renee, you did nothing wrong. Don't worry about it. And this is coming from somebody on the outside. I'm a Canadian. And all that kind of crap that you guys think is a stereotypical thing we say. But you know what? Up here, we don't really care. We deal with tons of different races. It's what our country's based on. In the end, what happened down there may all still stem from the vagueness of we were slaves at one time, but it's all interpretation, really. In the end, it's all interpretation. This has been 911, signing out. Peace out, everybody.